but there's a crew in town. The head hillbillies are making their rounds. Small town whispers loud and clear. The sheriff shot the judge in his chambers chair.
Sheriff got a secret he won't keep. Judge shot dead in his disbelief. A lot of people have some stories to tell. Dark pass away, get the sound of a shotgun shell.
All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground, rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Neighbors hide behind their blinds, whisper tales of troubled minds. Skeletons covering the mountainside, a treacherous reality in the pines.
Winter reveals the hidden lies. Moonlight couldn't mask their cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise. All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground, rumors fly and they can't be
Winter reveals the hidden lie. Moonlight could mask their cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise.
all the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground, rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the channel. My name is Elizabeth, and this is Hillbilly Crime. Sweet Tater is going to join us here in just a little bit. Let me send that to her. I remember I copied it and then forgot to send it to her. So she'll be joining us here shortly. She had to run to the store. So I have been doing a lot of work and research on just the nonprofits. I've mentioned it several times before, how I really saw how nonprofits work, the structure, the financial structure. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing until I worked with the people on the grant. There were two grant counselors that you had to work with. And I worked very closely with them on Zoom. They were from Lexington. And we worked probably 4 to 6 hours. I think it was, but it was 3 days a week. And we did that for a whole year, working on the new grants, the following funding cycle for the one that they had already obtained. And through that experience, I learned how the structures of nonprofits are set up. So you have one of two ways. And remember, I'm nothing no titles or anything, not anymore. But so this ain't no advice to anybody. But what I learned was with grant writing and with nonprofits, so their structure, their employment structure is set up one of two ways. So if it is a very well-funded organization, they will have employees. They can set up their administration levels and set up positions, which also comes with policies, procedures, things that we really heard about in like Mickey's deposition, right? Like with the sheriff's department, they had policies, they had procedures that they were supposed to go by. They had employees, they haven't had an employer. Well, nonprofit, okay, so you have that set up where they're a well-funded organization and they have that structure. The other kind is what I was hired in as with the nonprofit that I worked for. If they do not have a very well-funded organization, then what they end up doing is they have their board of directors. Now, all nonprofits have a board of directors, but whoever the founder of the nonprofit is, whoever the person is that's like putting it all together and starting it and sending in the registrations and all that stuff, they can pick their own board of directors. So they can put their mommy on it. They can put their brother on it, especially if it's something that's just now getting started and they don't have a lot of funding for it. You'll see that oftentimes they'll have their childhood friend, their cousin, their brother, people on there just to fill the seats, right? So they can at least say, we have a board of directors now. So now we can start having meetings and, start taking it along, right? And we're going to look at how some of these in Whitesburg have set up and how much money seems to be flowing through these organizations. And it seems like it's money that was designated for the poor and the addicted. I guess there's a ton of money, federal grant money, donated money that's coming into this area. And it's not just for addiction. Whenever the flood of 2022 happened here, there was a whole lot of money that came into this area to help the victims of the devastation. And over the years since that flood happened, I've had several people talk about how they didn't get any help. It seemed like there was a lot of people that didn't need the help that got it. And then you had other people who desperately needed it and they didn't qualify. They didn't get it. There were a lot of instances like that. Now, I've also heard some rumblings about all of that money that was for our county from that flood. And I don't know that's up to our fiscal court, you guys. That's our judge executive, Terry Adams, and all the magistrates that sit on that board and on that court. And one thing that I was really, really taken aback by when we watched that special meeting the other day, after this last flood that just happened a couple months ago, I was very shocked that the magistrates were asking the judge questions that it seems to me like they ought to have already known the answer to. If this was our fiscal court, that was supposed to be voting on this stuff, and going through, like, they're the ones that are responsible for all that money. And there have been many questions about where that money went and where's the receipts and the documentation to show where that money went. And it seems like there was a really big problem with that. There was a huge problem with the documentation. So, what are we supposed to look at when we want to go look and see where that money went? Just a question. All right, everybody, come on in. Come on in. We got a lot of stuff to look at tonight, too, y'all. We have found a whole bunch of stuff. Miss Lynette, I can't wait. I'm ready. Hit that like button for us too, y'all. So back in the 90s and the early 2000s, well, the whole 2000s, that was, if you guys remember, that was what the opioid crisis, it was about the time that the opioids came into this area and were flooded. The people of this area were pushed this medicine on them. And, we're kind of isolated in this area. So a lot of times the things that are hitting in the cities, it takes a lot longer for that stuff to hit here. Okay. And you've got rugs everywhere that you go. It's just part of the world. It's part of the life now. Come here. And but back then you had doctors that were just pushing it on everybody. And you had the coal mines hadn't shut down yet. So you had a whole bunch of coal miners that were being addicted by doctors. It wasn't just coal miners, it was old people. We're going to read this first article here, y'all. Let me pull it up over here. All right. Now, this was written a long time ago, okay, but it's very, very relevant. Docs on pharma payroll have blemished records. You don't reckon. The Ohio Medical Board concluded that pain physician, I don't know if I want to read all of this. I put the link in the description of this video, y'all. So if you want to go read it, the whole thing yourself, you can. But I want to get down here to the most important parts that affect us. Payments, disclosures are just the start. Payments to doctors for promotional work are not illegal and can be beneficial. Now, this was written in 2010, so it's been several years that this was written. But to understand what was happening back then and to see just how much money can make memories fade, it's important to hear this. Strong relationships between pharmaceutical companies and physicians are critical to developing new and better treatments. There is much debate, however, about whether paying doctors to market drugs can inappropriately influence what they prescribe. Studies have shown that even small gifts and payments affect physicians' attitudes. Such issues have become flashpoints in recent years, with both in courtrooms and in Congress. All told, 384 of the approximately 17,000 individuals earned more than $100,000 for their promotional and consulting work on behalf of one or more of the 7 companies in 2009 and 2010. Nearly all were physicians, but a handful of pharmacists, nurse practitioners, and dietitians also made the list. 43 physicians made more than 200,000, including 2 who topped 300,000. Physicians also received money from some of the 70-plus rug companies that have not disclosed their payments. Some of those interviewed could not recall all the companies that paid them, and certainly not how much they made. By 2013, the healthcare reform law requires all rug companies to report this information to the federal government, which will post on the web. Okay, so let's go down here to the part that interests us. Simple searches of government websites turned up disciplinary actions against many pharma speakers in ProPublica's database. The Medical Board of California filed a public accusation against psychiatrist Karen Hastick in 2008 and placed her on 5 years probation in May for gross negligence in her care of a patient. A monitor must observe her practice. Kentucky's medical board placed Dr. Van Breeding on probation from 2005 to 2008. In a stipulation filed with the board, Breeding admits unethical and unprofessional conduct. Reviewing 23 patient records, a consultant found Breeding often gave addictive painkillers without clear justification. He also voluntarily relinquished his Florida license. Now, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to look at some other parts of it. I think there's Mommy. There she is. Hi, Jelmy.
Hiya.
Okay.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Let me get over here to our next thing. That's what we did on. Okay. So we're going to look at this. All right, guys. So this is the 2023 open to public inspection. This is an organization exempt from income tax. It's for MCHC, the Mountain Comprehensive Health Corporation. So that is, I didn't realize that they were a nonprofit. MCHC was a nonprofit. And name and address of principal officer, Teresa Dotson. Is that related to the other Dotson that we know of? All right, so total revenue, $93 million, $404,000. So you might as well say $93,405,000. And that was for the current year. The prior year, they just brought in $80 million, almost $200,000. Grants and similar amounts paid, it says 0. So that's interesting. They didn't have any grants. Benefits paid to or for members, it says 0. Salaries, other compensation, and employee benefits, $49 million for salaries for MCHC, guys. 49 million. Wow. That's a lot of money for around here. Professional fundraising fees, 0. Other expenses, $34 million $493,000 for other expenses. Total expenses, $84 million. Revenue less expenses, $9 million. So they're saying they brought in $93 million. Their expenses were $84 million. So that means they only made $9 million out of $93 million. Wow. Total assets, $71 million, almost $72 million. Total liabilities, $13.5 million. Net assets or fund balances, $58 million. Wow. Okay, now look here, y'all. So here is, and this is from the Nonprofit Explorer for MCHC. Here's the salaries included. So Van Breeding, number one physician, makes 3 times more than anybody else. Almost 3 times. Van Breeding for 2024. Reportable compensation from the organization. So this is just what he made from MCHC. $1,846,857. April Sloan. I think she is, what did you say she was, Mommy? Is she a doctor or is she a dentist? A DO?
Oh, yeah, she's a dentist.
Okay, so she
I
made
didn't know
770.
I guess that. What was her name? April?
April Sloan. She
What did you
says
say
she's
her name was? Well, I had a Sloan that was a dentist, but now she's moved over to Hayside, Virginia. So that must not be her.
no, that ain't her because it says physician right underneath there. I just don't know what a DO is. But she makes
That's right.
$773,000. So she's number 2 on the list. Van makes way more than this.
That's one of those people that get a degree at Pikeville, like at Pikeville, and they're osteopathic medicine.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, so she's number 2 on the list. Number 3 would be Nathan Wade Baker. He only makes $645,000, or he made in 2024. Jonathan Hatton, that's Jamie Hatton, the county attorney's brother.
The Baker guy might be the one that delivers babies, is he?
I don't know. Yep, I think so. Yep, I think so. So Jonathan Hatton, $634,000. Matthew Breeding, $620,000. And then we're going to look at 2024. This is officers, directors, trustees, key employees, and highest compensated employees. Paid 3 times more than number 2. So Van, $1.8 million for 2024. Matt Breeding, only $620,000. And now, where this is a nonprofit, remember the way that they do a lot of their salaries is all they have to do is vote on it. All they have to do is say, oh, thank you, Indy girl. She says a DO is a doctor of osteopathy.
Yeah.
There we go. But so all they have to do is say, well, this is what we want to have the salary for. And as long as it's within like a an average of, of that job, it has to be within reason, or so they say. But, who's going to turn it down? I mean, they've obviously had to have a board vote on those salaries. And I just wonder why van breeding would be so much more important than everybody else. Why does he deserve 3 times what any of the other doctors are making?
Well,
So here
because
we go.
He came up with the idea and got the grants probably and that kind of a thing.
He's probably head of the board.
Head of the board.
So LM Mike Cottle, he's the chief executive officer. He makes $255,619. Philip Hampton is the chief operating officer. He made $148,442. Business transactions involving interested persons. Name of interested person, Rainy Day Corporation. Well, that's the wife to the CEO. How much of a money did they went to them? It looks like $73,968. Baker Properties. Now, this is also very interesting because I think these are all the same people. Baker Properties is the brother to the CEO. 4,800. Rental apartment. Administrative office space lease. So they pay $74,000 a year for office space. That's more than a house. I mean, they're buying a freaking mansion house for around here. What you'd pay every single year for that? Now, I know, listen, we need doctors. We need clinics. We need treatment centers. We need people to do all this stuff. I just find it very interesting that I was presenting a lot of ideas at the SOAR Summit 10 years ago, and I was chosen. Like, you have to apply, right, for the SOAR Summit to present at the SOAR Summit. You have to write out a big application, and you have to tell what your ideas are, and you send that in, and then they look at all of the applications. They look at all the things that the different ideas that people have, the different programs, the different, I don't know. I don't even know what else they presented there. Different people presented different things. And nobody listened to nothing I had to say. And now they're putting all this stuff together 10 years later. It just kind of slap in the face, I'll tell you.
Now they're using your ideas, aren't they?
Well, I mean, I'm not the only one that had ideas like this, but for them all to laugh and mock me and act like these were just such stupid things to be doing. So let's go look at this. These are new things. So this is the hub. They've put together all these nonprofit groups. And the hub, I reckon, has been, all of this started with the SOAR Summit. If you remember, some of you that were around, in 2018, all this research that I've done and kind of looked and things that people have sent to me too, it all fits. So if we go back and look at 2018. Let's stop sharing that and let me redo it again. 2018 was the year it was the election year. And so that was the year that Mickey was running for sheriff. That's the year that Terry Adams was running for judge executive. You had a whole lot of, you just had a whole lot of stuff going on. They had what is called, SOAR, Shaping Our Appalachian Region. That's a nonprofit that was put together from Hal Rogers' office and the governor's office. There was a whole lot of people that was involved in that big organization. And their main bread and butter, what they did, what they said all they did was make connections. They put people together to bring innovation to Eastern Kentucky. Well, so you've got all these different people working together. You've got what's called, they had these HEAL meetings. And in 2018 was when they were they probably started maybe in 2017. I didn't ever go to those. I started going in 2018, and I worked for a TV station. So I was there recording. So I got a whole bunch of recordings from those HEAL meetings that I took personally. Let me get back over here to where we're going to look. And now grant money, federal grant money is what is running this stuff. Here we go, guys.
Founder of HEAL, Help End Addiction for Life. To give those with addiction the ability to get their lives back on track. Remember, your past does not define your future. The hub, located here in downtown Whitesburg, Kentucky, is the area to come to find out all the resources that are available to you to help get your life back on track. The hub is open from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., Monday through Friday. The hub offers such services as recovery coaching, access to self-help groups such as Alcoholics Anonymous, Celebrate Recovery, and Narcotics Anonymous, Smart Recovery, emergency clothing closet, access to personal hygiene products, emergency food, case management, substance use treatment, sober living and transitional housing, offender correction education, help for family and friends, alcohol and drug counseling, and much, much more. The hub is a place to come in, share stories, have a cup of coffee, use the internet, make a phone call, sit down and talk to others who are going through the same thing you're going through to try to get their lives back on track. Now more than ever, with increasing suicides, increased rates of overdose, declining resources, HEAL and the hub are there to help you realize you don't have to live like that anymore. Come see us at the hub. Open the door to hope and get help.
Well, so they have started this little place here called the Hub. And here it says HEAL was proud to partner with Hub Letcher in presenting the Letcher County Sheriff's Office and the Whitesburg City Police Department with QRT, leave behind bags, life-saving Narcan, and first aid CPR kits for our local law enforcement staff. HEAL recognizes and thanks all Letcher County law enforcement and first responders for their dedication to our community's safety. We would also like to thank Letcher County Judge Executive Terry Adams for his consistent support of HEAL and the Hub. Without his support and the support of the Letcher County Fiscal Court, HEAL and the Hub would not be possible because they keep giving them money. HEAL would also like to recognize the hard work and dedication of the Hub staff and the Kentucky River District Health Department. The work you do at the Hub is invaluable, and Letcher County is privileged to have you. If you haven't already, stop by and visit the Hub. It's located in downtown Whitesburg. Thank you to Justin Hunsucker, Whitesburg Assistant City Police Chief, Letcher County Sheriff Billy Jones, Letcher County Judge Executive Terry Adams, HEAL President Dr. Sidney Whitaker, Sonia Adams, his pit bull, Director of Behavioral Health at MCHC, and Letcher County's QRT, and cite lead Mark O'Brien with the Kentucky River District Health Department's harm reduction team at the hub Letcher. The Letcher County QRT for making it possible to get much needed supplies out to the community to battle this epidemic. Oh, let's see. And here is a great big picture of all of them at the ribbon cutting ceremony. So there you've got the mayor of Whitesburg. You've got, I don't know who half of these people are. That looks like Benny, but I don't know if that's Benny or not. I can't tell. That's the health department director. And there's Sonia. And there's Terry Adams. And that looks like Jenkins mayor, Todd DePriest. And a whole bunch of people. So if you guys can tell, so this was started, this page was January 13th. But let's go over here to heal. So this is help end addiction for life. Let me pull that off there. Let's see. Okay. It's all connected, y'all. And all this money that's supposed to be going to the victims, all of that opioid settlement money that was supposed to come to our area and help the people. It looks to me like all that money has, sure, they have used some of it. They have to not be busted wide open. But all of these salaries, these high paying salaries that everybody has. And when we were watching that special meeting of the fiscal court last week, whenever people were asking questions about it, like that woman was just concerned with this next funding cycle so the people could get paid for their jobs. Like all these people could keep their jobs. Well, what about, it just blows me away. Okay. Now, the Heal Facebook page has been up a lot longer. I think it really started, I looked at it all today, and it goes back to 2018 when I started going. And so we're going to look and we're going to see just how connected they are with ARC. Tim Robinson, who is ARC's founder and CEO, was on the board for Heal. There we see Matt Brown, who just stepped down from ARC. He was given the inaugural Community Partner Award by Heal during an award ceremony Thursday evening. They love to pat each other on the back. Here we go, y'all. There's Judge Mullins. All these people are very, very, very close. All right. 38 people in Whitesburg got a fresh start yesterday, it said. This was July 26, 2024. An awesome crew at the Heal Recovery Center Central Celebration hosted an expungement clinic. Attorneys and paralegals from Apple Red's Barberville, so that's another nonprofit that has attorneys. And so if you had like a really big case or something, they might represent you, but I've never seen them represent anybody really except for the black lung people. And I don't even know if that was Apple Red or if that was Appalachian Law Center. I don't know. They've got a couple of them places here, and they're all grant funded. So their positions are paid for through grant money. It's federal tax money. And they figured out through the SOAR organization, they figured out how to start these nonprofits. The Cane Kitchen is a nonprofit that works very, very closely with all these people, which the Cane Kitchen does a lot of good things. So I'm not picking on them at all. I'm not picking on anybody. All of this stuff is what I keep saying. White collar crime. You can have people look at their financials, look at these documents, this paperwork, and be like, "Oh, okay, check, 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 check. Looks great," because they don't know what the hell they're even looking at. Oh, it just frustrates me to no end. And then you've got people who are actually doing stuff, who just get by with it. Hill is proud to recognize our inaugural Community Partner Award recipient, Mr. Matt Brown. Matt has been a part of Hill since its creation in 2018, and his support has never wavered. Through the years, he has been a champion for addiction recovery and community collaboration, and his involvement in Hill has assisted us with achieving our grassroots goals. Hill is proud to recognize Matt for his contributions not only to Hill, but to all of those in the Commonwealth seeking freedom from addiction. Matt's lived experience combined with his professional integrity, people, and personal sincerity have allowed him to move mountains for the substance use recovery climate in Kentucky. Hill is honored to have Matt Brown as a partner, and we equally as proud to present him with this award. I am deeply honored to receive this award and grateful to witness the collaboration of community groups, organizations, leaders, and businesses dedicated to building a better Kentucky for our families, friends, and neighbors. Mr. Brown stated, "I also want to thank God for guiding me out of addiction and express my heartfelt gratitude to my wife and my family for their unwavering support. The Hill effort is such a critical component to Kentucky's recovery landscape, and I'm so proud to be a small part of it. Congratulations, Matt, and thank you for your dedication to Hill and to all of Kentucky." The Community Partner Award will be presented during the Hill presentation at Recovery Central. The presentation will take place on the Mountain Heritage Stage in downtown Whitesburg on July 25th. Well, he looks awful fancy there, don't he? Not very many people can afford those kinds of tuxedos. Now, I went all the way through this Facebook page, and it goes all the way back to 2018. How many people do you think that they highlighted on here for like success stories? Two. Now, my friend Shannon, she's a success story, but she didn't get a job at the hospital. She didn't get a great big title job at the hospital. So they'll help her out around here. They might find somebody that needs their house cleaned, but they sure ain't hiring her. They ain't gonna hire her. When the peer support specialist positions came open, well, the way that worked was, who could afford to go pay $500 for their training certificate? Nobody could do that, especially not a recovering addict, right? And so these companies, the only way that people could work as a peer support specialist was to get hired through a place like MCHC or ARC. And then they send them to training. And they pay the $500 for the training. And then they come back and they pay them $10 an hour. Well, they're billing for a lot more than just $10 an hour. So they're making the rest of that. Whatever they bill for, they're going to make the rest of that. But they're going to give the peer support specialists whatever their starting hourly pay would be. $8, $10, $14, just depends on where you're at and how much they want to pay. Well, so my friend Shannon, she got hired, and they sent her for training, and they paid her $500 fee. Well, I couldn't get hired nowhere, and I thought, well, I'm just going to go get my own. I'm going to go pay for it myself. So I took $500 of my student loan where I was in school, and I paid for that training myself and got my own certificate. I ain't never worked as one because nobody'd ever hire me. But so that's how, addicts, they can't afford to pay that stuff. So you're really at their mercy, Here's a post that was put up May 10th, 2024 from Michael Clark, the preacher. I can't say enough about the Letcher County Sheriff's Office. I was traveling today with work when I got a call from Mickey saying that someone walked into his office needing help. Elizabeth, not me, they have another Elizabeth. Elizabeth got this guy screened and scheduled within a couple hours. The sheriff drove him to treatment, and I was fortunate enough to meet them outside of our facility and get this picture. This guy wasn't arrested today. He was given a chance for a new life. Community partners are the key to defeating addiction. Addiction Recovery Care, ARC, has beds available, and I would love to help you begin your journey. I'm sure he did. I'm sure he still is. All right. Recovery Central celebration. They had a free community meal, Kane Kitchen. And then they had all these meetings, and they got several of them up on here. Kentucky Academy of Family Physicians. Strong medicine for Kentucky. Press release for the Kentucky Academy for Family Practice. Citizen Doctor of the Year Award. So Van was given the Doctor of the Year Award in 2023. There. Tune in to WYMT's Issues and Answers tonight. Hill's Sonia Adams and Dr. Sidney Cox discusses Hill, our Recovery Central celebration, and the work being done to reduce substance use in Letcher County. MCHC Behavioral Health Department, along with Dr. Nathan Baker, are well represented at the RX Summit in Atlanta, Georgia today. Always looking to better serve our patients here at MCHC. Well, I tried to go to that summit. I wanted to go to it because it was, at that time I was trying really, really hard. But it cost like $4,000. I mean, it was absolutely outrageous how much it cost to get into that thing. There wasn't no way. I couldn't even take it out of my student loan. There was just no way I could go unless you went with a company or an organization, somebody. Operation Unite went. These are just, and here we got a couple that are talking about
videos. Let everyone know that we have fentanyl test strips available to give away to the public here at the clinic. As most of you know, fentanyl is quickly becoming the leading cause of unintentional overdoses in our community. So this little strip is a quick, efficient, easy way to be able to detect unwanted fentanyl in a substance. Obviously, we don't want anyone to use, but if they are going to use, we want people to be as safe as possible. So if you or someone you love have concerns that you may be exposed to fentanyl in a substance, come down to the clinic. Let's get you some of these strips. They're really simple to use. You can ask your medical provider about it, or come over to behavioral health and ask to speak to one of the providers there about them. We'd be happy to get you some. And also while you're here, hopefully we can give you some information and education on other treatment options for addiction. So we look forward to seeing you at the clinic.
Okay. Let's hear this guy.
Hello, my name is Trevor Mullins. I'm here with Mountain Comprehensive Health Corporation in Whitesburg, Kentucky. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how you can gain access to a life-saving medication known as naloxone. So what is naloxone? Some people may know this by Narcan. Narcan is a prescription medication that can reverse an overdose that is caused by an opioid drug. When administered during an overdose, naloxone blocks the effects of opioids on the brain and restores breathing. It can be given as an injection into the muscle or a nasal spray. Naloxone has no potential for abuse. It's given to a person who is experiencing an opioid overdose. It's harmless. If naloxone is administered to a person who is experiencing an opioid overdose, it will produce withdrawal symptoms. So that is normal. Naloxone does not reverse overdoses that are caused by non-opioid drugs. So make sure you keep that in mind. Naloxone should be stored at room temperature and always away from light. And the shelf life of naloxone, whenever you get it from the pharmacy, is typically around 2 years. So how can you get...
Okay. Y'all, that's boring. We don't want to listen to all that. Here's some of these meetings. Now, I was at every single one of these, unfortunately. And I don't want to bore you with them either. But you guys see it's Help End Addiction for Life. It's called HEAL. So if anybody is interested to go watch any of this stuff, you know, they needed to do all of that to get it off of the ground. And look here. Dr. Van Breeding named Healthy Kentucky Policy Champion for his leadership in addressing the opioid crisis in Letcher and surrounding counties. All right. Yes, I can't. So let me go back over here because we're going to look at exactly what did, let's see, let me stop sharing it and we'll redo it this way because sometimes our screen and our volume gets mixed up when I do it that way. We are going to look at exactly what Breeding his history is. All right, Van Breeding, MD, 1.8 million. There's these thing. Other compensation, 26,000. Van Breeding, the 2023, he made 1.8 million, 30,000 other compensation. 2022, 1.6 million. 2021, 1.5 million. 2020, 1.6 million. 2019, 1.5 million. 2018, 1.3 million. So you can see it kind of steadily has went up. And this is just what he makes off at for MCHC. This isn't for all those other nonprofits. Not that I can tell anyway. 2017, 1.5, 2016, 1.4, 2015, 1.1, almost 1.2, and 2014, 1.2. Okay. Here is State of Florida Board of Medicine. Final order versus Van Breeding. This cause came before the Board of Medicine, Florida statutes on February 3rd, 2006 in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, for the purpose of considering a consent agreement entered into between the parties. Upon consideration of the consent agreement, the documents submitted in support thereof, the arguments of the parties, and being otherwise fully advised in the premises. Okay, all that makes is kind of crazy. That the consent agreement, let's see, the cost set forth in paragraph $132. Okay, so that's just a bunch of stuff. Okay. Van Breeding was the respondent. Petitioner is a state agency charged with regulating the practice of medicine pursuant to Florida statutes. Stipulated facts. So what's that mean? That means that they all agree that it's a fact. Nobody's contesting it. At all times, material hereto, respondent was a licensed physician in the state of Florida. The department charged respondent with an administrative complaint that was filed and properly served upon respondent with violations. A true and correct copy of the complaint is attached. Respondent neither admits nor denies the allegations of fact contained in the administrative complaint. He admits that he has a law license in Florida. Let's see. Letter of concern. Respondent shall receive a letter of concern from the Board of Medicine. The Board of Medicine shall impose an administrative fine of $5,000. I'm pretty sure they yanked his Florida license. Let's see. That's just about the fine. Suspension. Here it is. Okay. Respondent's license to practice medicine shall be indefinitely suspended until respondent provides written proof that respondent's Kentucky medical license has been unrestricted and probation terminated by the licensing board of the state of Kentucky. And that said, Kentucky medical license is in good standing and unencumbered, and respondent appears before the Board of Medicine and demonstrate that his license is in good standing and unencumbered. Okay. So let's go back down here because there's more. It's just crazy, y'all, how doctors came in, caused this problem over prescribing pain medicine. So somebody reached out to me today and said that their poor little old daddy had went to see a doctor for sciatica pain. And this was back in the late 90s. And this doctor put him on oxycodone for his pain, and he knew nothing about pain medicine. He ended up becoming addicted to it, and he was an old man, and so the doctor took him off of it and put him on methadone. And then his family found out that he was on all this stuff, and he had absolutely no idea that it was even addictive. Like back then, a lot of people had absolutely no idea what they were taking.
Well, they promoted it as not being addictive.
Yeah, they did. So here we go. Here's the administrative complaint versus Van Breeding. Petitioner is the State Department charged with regulating the practice. Kentucky Board entered a finding of fact, conclusions of law and order, which found that respondent inappropriately prescribed and inappropriately billed for medical services. On or about April 1st, 2005, the Kentucky State Board placed the respondent's license to practice medicine on probation for a period of 5 years without suspension. Respondent failed to report in writing to the Board of Medicine within 30 days of the April 1st, 2005 disciplinary action taken by the Kentucky Board of Medicine. Count 1, and then it goes through a bunch. Number 12. The April 1st, 2005 order issued by the Kentucky State Board medical license on probation constitutes disciplinary action against the respondent's Kentucky medical license. And then that's just the end of that. And then we've got here the practitioner's profile from the Florida Health Department or Florida Health. And it shows what degrees he has and what school he went to. And the board action reports we've got there. All right. The Medical Board of California filed a public accusation against psychiatrist Karen Hastick in 2008, and it talks about her. Kentucky's medical board placed Dr. Van Breeding on probation from 2005 to 2008. In a stipulation filed with the board, Breeding admits unethical and unprofessional conduct, that he gave addictive painkillers without clear justification. He also voluntarily relinquished his Florida license. New York's medical board put, and then it tells about another doctor. Yet during 2009 and 2010, Hastick made $168,000 from Lilly, Glaxo, and AstraZeneca. So these are pharma people that paid the doctors, is what I think it is, to market their medicine, to use their medicine. Breeding took in $37,497 from 4 of the firms. So he was getting paid for that. There is just so much money that's changing hands with these grants. The salaries, God only knows how much their salaries are. So you've got the Senate 90 bill. The Senate 90 bill, people keep kind of getting them mixed up. You've got drug court that was from the circuit court. So that's where the felony charges are all from. And then Judge Mullins was doing, his court was doing the Senate 90 bill. Now, let me pull that up and we'll look at it. If I'm not mistaken, this is where Judge Mullins was contacted and asked to do the pilot program for this. It says Kentucky Acts Chapter 230, Senate Bill 90, 2022 regular session, establishes the Behavioral Health Conditional Dismissal Program as an alternative to incarceration for eligible persons with a behavioral health disorder who have been charged with a qualifying offense. So let's see if we can get a little bit more. See, Senate 90 bill and Judge Kevin Mullins. Examining Kentucky's pilot program to treat nonviolent offenders with behavioral health. Kentucky Judicial Commission on Mental Health pilot program aims to dismiss charges of nonviolent offenders. And let me go and get these. I had a couple other things here that we want to look at. Kind of ties all this stuff together. All the services that they're providing. You know, I wonder, I don't wonder, whenever they went around to all of the city council meetings and asked them for their opioid settlement money, they got it. And I think all they said was that they were going to train their officers. Train them to do what? You know, so you end up having all these programs for addiction and stuff, but where's the money going? Like, where's the money going? They're still asking for donations. How many of you out there have been helped by the opioid settlement money? How many of you out there got help with the flood damage from the donation money? Not from FEMA, from all the money that was donated to this area. Tell me. I'd love to know. And when people start asking questions about that money from the 2022 flood, it seems like that offends people, like the ones that are supposed to be answering the questions. They tend to get all huffy and puffy and they don't have no answers. Let's watch this.
Your health matters. At Home Place Clinic, it's our priority. HIV risks are real, and knowing your status is crucial. PrEP is a pill that can prevent the transmission of HIV. It's been a game changer in reducing the risks. Call us for your appointment today.
Mountain Comprehensive Care Centers.
Organizations in Whitesburg are partnering to provide more resources for those struggling with any aspect of addiction. WYMT's RJ Johnson spoke with officials on how they hope this will have a big impact on the community.
Fighting against drug abuse in Whitesburg, Mountain Comprehensive Health Corporation Behavioral Health Director Sandra Adams says it cannot be done alone.
Everyone here that is involved in treatment wants the best for our population and our community, and it's almost impossible for one entity alone to provide that to everyone and meet every need by every patient.
So they partnered with the Kentucky River District Health Department to create a recovery hub in Whitesburg.
We wanted to replicate this hub in other communities, and Letcher County is just a prime area to do this because they've already got a great spirit of partnership down there.
Kentucky River District Health Department Public Health Director Scott Lockard says they want to meet people wherever they may be.
Find out what resources they need, if it's counseling, if it's linkage to a primary care provider, if they're ready for a bed in a treatment facility, they can get that.
Adams says that goes into every aspect along the journey of addiction.
We want to make sure that we meet those mental health needs. We want to make sure we meet those substance use needs. And then just the basic human needs for people like food, shelter, clothing, heat, things that a lot of people take for granted are really big sources of stressors.
Saying it will take several organizations.
How many of you all have gotten help from them with your heat? She named off a whole lot of stuff there. How many of y'all getting those services? Just asking.
It's coming together to help this cause. In Whitesburg, RJ Johnson, WYMT Mountain.
Seems like that's kind of a big common thing here. There's all kinds of services. And it costs people, or it costs money to put in these grant applications. And everybody's got to get paid. How's that money helping the people? How many people you think go down there? How many people do you think? And it's only open from like, I think he said 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. I mean, these things were needed. These things were absolutely needed. But at what cost? And are they actually providing the services that they say that they're offering? Let's see. Let me get over here to this other one that I wanted us to watch. And, you know, some people might not think this is a big deal, but it's a really big deal when it comes to millions and millions of dollars coming into this area. And it's like all the rich people are just getting richer. Wow. And they all just pat each other on the back, and they create awards for each other, and they put everybody's name on there. Like, here, let me go back over here and show you. So I'm going through here and I'm going through here. And they've only told, like, they've only put 2 success stories on this page, and it's been since 2018. That ought to tell you all something. It ought to tell you that there's not nearly as many success stories that would justify all the freaking money that's going to these salaries. These organizations making everybody money, you know. So this was July 17th, 2024. And, you know, my friend Shannon, she was like, you know, I'm a success story. She said, I'm a success story. They never would put me up there. And she was close to Mullins. She was close to Judge Mullins. She was close to Judge Kraft. She was close to everybody on the drug court. Why didn't they ever put Shannon up there as a success story? You know, why? Because she didn't go through their program. She didn't go through HEAL. She didn't go through ARC. She went through Judge Kraft's drug court program. She didn't go through their programs. And so they can't take credit for the real success stories. This girl here is the only one. Shannon, I said, yeah. I said, why didn't they ever put you up there? She said, well, they did Michelle Sandlin. And I said, well, who's that? And here she is. HEAL is honored to share our 2024 Phoenix Award recipient, Ms. Michelle Sandlin. The Phoenix Award honors an individual who has risen from the depths of addiction to the joys of service, much like the phoenix rises from the ashes of defeat to soar in beautiful redemption. They have a lot of fancy words, don't they? All of them. Michelle's journey has led her from the trials of addiction to now being employed by Whitesburg Appalachian Regional Hospital as a peer recovery coach. So that's a new role that they made. That has not been a role for a long time. I'd say they probably got those to where they could be billed for Medicaid too, just like the peer support specialists. But I don't know that for sure, but I'm just guessing that. In her role at WARH, Michelle is able to provide peer services to those who are at their most vulnerable, perhaps after an OD or during withdrawal symptoms. Through this, she offers a light to others in their darkest moments and undoubtedly changes the course for many suffering from addiction. Heal is proud to present the 2024 Phoenix Award to Michelle Sandlin, a valued Heal partner and an inspiration to many. I want to start by saying what an honor it is to receive the Phoenix Award, Miss Sandlin stated. When I started my recovery journey almost 7 years ago, I found life could be so much more than what I ever imagined. After 32 years of using mind-altering substances, I had to learn a new way to live. This new beginning led to the passion to help others who struggle with substance use. My recovery did not begin with the times I was incarcerated, but rather when I began Letcher County Drug Court. This process allows me to form new and healthy relationships with people who trusted me to make the changes for myself for a better lifestyle. Little did I know that this would include mending relationships with my children and loved ones. I had fought for years for this chance in my life without any success until others showed me continued love and support. The lifestyle I live today is an open book. I hope that I can show others that they are not alone in this fight. It is important to me that people feel as if I'm a safe person in the community that would help any way I could. If you think you are alone, I can promise that you are not. I work diligently to help end the stigma of addiction and focus on a successful path to recovery, because all paths are different. I want others to know it is not an easy journey, but by far the best I've ever taken. I am beyond grateful that WARH believed in me and provided me with the chance to hold my hand out to others. We do recover, and we do not walk alone. Heal congratulates Michelle Sandlin on being a 2024 recipient of the Heal Phoenix Award. The Phoenix Award will be presented during the Heal presentation at Recovery Central. The presentation will take place at Mountain Heritage Stage. And that was last year. And then this is the other one that I saw. Heal, and she got the 2024 Phoenix Award recipient, Miss Heather Moore. An individual has risen, and it pretty much says the same thing. Heather's journey is led from the adversity of addiction to now being employed through the Kentucky River District Health Department and the Letcher County Hub. See, they only highlight people that they have relationships with or that they've hired or, some way. They're not highlighting real success stories in the community that didn't have anything to do with them. It's like bragging on themselves, which congratulations to each one of these ladies. Recovery is hard, no matter how you get through it. Heather will be able to provide peer services and show hope to those struggling with addiction. So both of them are working in peer support. Well, I thought it was some great big role. See, that's my point. But old Matt Brown, look at him. He got a big old fancy tuxedo, and he gets to sit on a great big fancy stage. I'm sorry, y'all. It's just, ugh. This ain't the only. Here, we're going to go to this one now. I mean, this just shows you how much money is coming into this area. And it comes in tax-free ways or tax-exempt ways. And then nobody wants to talk about it. Like if something happens, don't you mention it. Don't you ask no questions. We may have made some mistakes, but don't you ask about them. September 14th, 2011, ribbon cut on $1.4 million fire department in Neon. The old Harlow Motor Company building in Fleming, Neon has been transformed into a state-of-the-art facility for the Neon Volunteer Fire Department. Giving life back to an old building is very rare in a small community, said Dr. Sam Quillen, Assistant Chief of the Neon Volunteer Fire Department. The fire department had outgrown its previous building and needed a place large enough to house all of its equipment and vehicles. Whitesburg architect Bill Richardson designed the project, which cost about $1.4 million to complete. About $400,000 in funding came from coal severance money. Oh yeah, that was a big thing. There was a whole lot of coal severance money that came into this area back then before they shut the coal mines down. I'd really like to know where all that money went to. It's a class act, said Richardson. It's a step forward for the whole community. The $16,000 square foot facility has room to hold a fleet of 17 fire trucks and ambulances. The building has 2 ambulance bays and 5 large bays with glass doors. And there you see their little kitchen area. It's real modern. It's nice. It's right below my mommy's house. Like you can stand on her front porch and see it. This is the fire department that all them backed me up against the door. It's going to be a big asset to the county, said Jonathan Richardson, a Neon firefighter and paramedic. The fire trucks hook up to a $100,000 ventilation system, which was obtained through a grant and prevents the buildup of carbon monoxide and other toxic fumes. Offices, a dispatcher area, and a crew staging area are also located on the first floor. On the second floor of the building is about 4,200 square feet of space, which includes men's and women's dormitories, showers, and bathrooms. A kitchen and dining area, a relaxation area, and an instructional classroom are also located upstairs. Quillen said the new facility is better suited to house full-time personnel and to encourage volunteers to stay around the fire station. This will decrease the response time and will have a better outcome on an emergency, said Quillen. At the front of the new facility is a memorial for fallen firefighters to honor John Adams, Emerson Spangler, and Mike Webb. Near the new firehouse, which is located on 14 acres of land, is a 3,400 square foot training facility and 8,600 square foot maintenance facility. All 3 buildings were purchased from Taylor Metal and Roofing. Quillen said the fire department can conduct various trainings, including auto extractions and forest fire and mountain rescue. He said it is important for all fire departments in the county to train together to improve the success of emergency encounters. The Neon Volunteer Fire Department has 38 employees. 38! Where did that come from? I ain't never seen 38 employees there. That's a lot. Have you all seen 38 employees at the Neon Fire Department? Maybe. Anyway, so it has 38 employees on the payroll, consisting of firefighters, emergency medical technicians, and paramedics. About 30 more people volunteer their services. So that's not even counting the volunteers. The department makes more than 6,000 ambulance runs each year, including 911 emergency runs, convalescent transports, and interfacility transports. Now, this was a few years ago, so I don't think they probably have 38 employees, but that really shocks me that they started out with that many. But I could be wrong. They might even have more than that now. Who knows? The fire department can provide advanced life support services. The Neon Fire Department was established in 1947 after a major fire on Main Street destroyed 3 businesses. They literally didn't know if they were going to be able to stop it from burning down one end of Neon, said Quillen. Members of the Lions Club then decided to create a fire department. The Neon Volunteer Fire Department was the first certified mountain rescue team in Kentucky and did rappelling and basket rescues. The fire department also purchased the first jaws of life in Letcher County to extricate people from wrecked vehicles. Carter Bevins, who's the fire chief, Mike Dingus, and Mike Adams were the first emergency medical technicians to work at fire department when it added an ambulance service in the late 1970s. Quillen said the fire department was the first one in the county to hold bingo nights, and as a result was able to raise lots of money to purchase top-of-the-line equipment. That was really what got us jump-started, said Quillen. We wanted a first-class operation, and we weren't going to settle for less. First responders in Letcher County toured the new fire department during a dedication ceremony on September 11, 2011. Now, this was the Mountain Eagle, September 14th, 2011. Now, I hate to read this, y'all. I hate to read it. But if I don't, then that means I'm hiding something. And that ain't me. Truth is the truth, no matter how bad it hurts, y'all. And, this is accountability. When you do things wrong, and who knows? I don't even know. Let's read it. I just hate to do it. I know the family, so. Grand jury says Neon firefighters stole $232,380. This was the Mountain Eagle, September 21st, 2016. A firefighter accused of embezzling nearly $250,000 from the Neon Volunteer Fire Department is among 5 people indicted late last week by a Letcher County grand jury. Samuel W. Quillen Trey III, 44 of Neon, turned himself in the following day and was released on a $5,000 cash bond. So I'd say he's turned himself in and then, they paid it while he got right back out. He is scheduled to be back in Letcher Circuit Court at 9 a.m. on September 28th. The indictments charge Quillen with 43 separate counts of theft by failure to make required disposition of property totaling $232,380 over a period beginning in May 2011 and continuing until June of 2014. Now, do you remember the dates that the fire department was opened? So this was the following year that all that grant money came in. Breaks my heart. Amounts the grand jury alleges were involved range from a low of $2,075 in June of 2014 to a high of $6,850 during October 2013. Quillen, an emergency medical technician and an officer at the fire department, was a longtime member of the Neon Volunteer Fire Department. The charges are apparently related to his work at the fire department. Each charge is a Class D felony punishable by up to 5 years in prison and a fine of $1,000 to $10,000. Detective Randy Combs of the Kentucky State Police testified before the grand jury. And then it goes on just to tell the other people that were indicted. Okay. Now, I only bring that up because I heard whispers after it was over that he was the fall guy. They were my neighbors for a long time, and I loved them. But I heard he was the fall guy. Now, I don't know how true that is. He's the only one that got charged. He was the only one that was indicted. But I heard a lot of whispers about it. I heard about a lot of things. And this ain't the only one. There's another one in the news of a local fire department. The fire department here in Jenkins. I was told that one of the families who worked there pretty much lived there. They've got an apartment up there. They don't ever have to go home. They just stay there. Don't have to pay no rent nowhere. I don't think that it was really meant for that to happen that way, you know? And there's always a ton of drama and gossip and, well, what's the commonality that we see around here? This one's sleeping with that one, and that one's sleeping with this one, and this one's sleeping with that one. It's just a mess. So I'm sure I didn't really present this tonight in a well-organized way, and I'm sorry. I just think that all of these treatment centers are milking this federal money that has been set aside. When I would go down there to heal, and I would try, they started this, we're going to treat them for 3 to 6 months. And then we're going to start weaning them off of Suboxone. And we're going to have a goal of 1 year, no longer than 1 year, to be completely off of it. Short term. This was designed for short term. And I was going, hey, it ain't going to work. It ain't working. I would make him so mad. Oh, my God. I would just walk in the door for the heal meetings, and his head would turn as red as this wall. He looked like his ears was about to pop off. And every time I'd say something that he didn't like, he'd send old Pitbull Sonya over on me. Because he's not confrontational, you know, or anything, which I wasn't either. I was just trying to tell him, you know, and he didn't want to hear nothing I had to say. So he would kind of quietly, passive aggressive, I guess is what you call it. And he would quietly walk away. And then here she'd come all up in my face, sticking them eyeballs right up in my, you know, making sure she has real good eye contact with you. And she'd get right up in your face and be real, like, aggressive talking. She knew what, you know, they knew everything. They didn't want to hear nothing I'd say. Like she was trying to intimidate me to shut up and sit down. They didn't want to hear nothing I had to say. And back then, they were just getting the peer support specialists to where they could be billed for Medicaid. And I kept telling them, you can't put an abstinent peer support specialist with somebody who's on Suboxone. They have two completely different experiences, totally different experiences. It's not going to work. They're not going to relate to each other. You need to have MAT peer support with MAT patients. You need to have abstinent peer support with abstinent patients. I mean, it just seems like common sense to me, right? No, they weren't going to hire. They weren't going to hire nobody that was on Suboxone, period. And I just find it very funny that breeding was part of the problem that created the opioid crisis in this area. And now he puts himself out there as the savior and doctor of the year for treatment, for mat treatment at that. You're joking me. Joking me. Somebody else sent me a message and said all my problems started once I started going to see him. Truth is the truth, y'all. You know? Tim Collins, insurances and hospitals all benefited from it. They did. And they're still benefiting from it. Who is getting this? Who is benefiting from all this money? Where's the jobs? Where's the jobs for these people? Oh, they're going to hire you as a peer support. Is that it? Is that the only jobs that we're capable of doing? Nobody wanted to hear what I had to say back then. Nobody wanted to hear a word of it. I didn't know what I was talking about. I was an active user. I was just trading one drug for another, and I had absolutely no idea. I need to just shut up and go away. I didn't just go to one or two meetings, y'all. I can't tell you how many emails and presentations to the Office of Drug Control Policy in Frankfort. I can't tell you how many emails and presentations I sent to our governor's office. Whenever I presented my stuff down there at the SOAR Summit, I met a whole lot of interesting people. I met people from the governor's office. I met people from Hal Rogers' office. I met people from the office, the Drug Control Policy office, from the harm reduction, that bus that comes in, the Narcan bus that goes all over the state to all over the to every county. They go to the health departments, have to request them to come. But one of the fellers who runs that program, I met him through there. And some of those people were really, really great connections and people to meet. But when I'm sending them all my ideas and I'm sending them all these presentations and I'm sending them all these community programs, nobody had nothing to say about it. Nobody. The only people that really offered me any kind of I don't even know what you'd even call it. But it was the Kentucky Pharmacists Association, of all people. This lady who was over the educational part of the Pharmacists Association, she had met me and she asked me to come speak at their annual conference. And she actually asked me back several times. I think I went and spoke for them 2 or 3 different times in Louisville and Frankfort at their annual conference. And, you know, it was me kind of sharing with them my experiences as a patient in recovery. They were pretty cool people. They understood what MAT was. I did my master's thesis on Kentucky jails not allowing any kind of MAT treatment. Whenever the election came around in 2018, everybody's wanting to get elected. Talked Bert till his ears about fell off. Oh, yeah, well, if I get in there, you come down there. If I get in there, you come down, you come see me, you come see me. So I went and saw him whenever he got in there. And what did Bert end up doing? He was the very first jail in Kentucky to allow Matt. I'm glad. It's a good thing. We needed it. I'm happy that those kinds of things ended up happening. We desperately needed them. Doctors worry about their license being revoked when it comes to pain meds. Well, his was. Right here in Kentucky. It wasn't revoked. It was suspended. Or what did it say? Probation. He was on probation. All these grants just fill the pockets of the upper management. I'm telling you, no money is put out for the needy people. Anything you do, it is going to cost you. The biggest scam and fraud in all government organization. And I'm telling you, people actually knew what they were looking at. If people actually knew what they were looking for, they'd be able to find it. They'd see it all. But if you don't know what you're looking for, you're not going to find it. You're not going to see it. You can look right over it. Say, oh, that looks great. Good job. Good job. I mean, just on that one Facebook page, they only talked about two. That's it. And it was just peer support specialist positions that they were giving these big awards for. How many people do you think, not diminishing that at all? It's a wonderful thing. I'm just saying. What about all these people? Like, you couldn't have put 20 on there? Oh, no, because then they have to include the people who are on that. Oh, you mean it's only the ones who are abstinent that get the awards? Because they were given a job? What about all these other people who have absolutely become successful as parents, who were able to raise their children, who were able to be functional and productive in life, regardless of what form of treatment they went on? It don't matter. It's about being functional. It's about being able to survive. One of the things that happened, one of the things that I kept writing the Department of Policy about, because that's what I always told everybody I wanted to do. You know, when I get done with school, I want to work in policy. Because they created all these policies and these restrictions for the patients because we were such bad people, you know. We couldn't be trusted, and we were criminals and just all this stuff. So they put all these restrictions on us, the patients. They didn't put a bit of restrictions on the doctors, on the people that opened the clinics. When they started them all, they were a 100% full, all-cash business. They didn't take no insurances. Not around here, they didn't. It was cash only. That's it. You didn't have cash, you weren't getting treated. You would not get your medicine. That medicine helped so many people in this area to not have to get up every morning and go on that hunt, go on that run. And you can't even, I mean, you're already dialing that phone. Who's got something? Where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? And you ain't even got $1 in your pocket to go buy it. But you got to find it first. And then once you know where it's at, then you got to go on the hunt, try to make the money to get it. Well, what do you think ended up happening? Property crime was through the roof. If you got a $500 a day habit, you got back then OCs were $120 all day long for one thing. If you got a big old habit, that's a whole lot of stuff that you got to steal to try and sell to get the money. So, I mean, if it wasn't bolted to the ground or tied down, as soon as your back was turned or as soon as you went to sleep or whatever, property crime was just crazy. And then when people got on the medicine, it wasn't just, now mind you, these addicts, these people that are in this treatment, their lifestyle hasn't really changed because it was the way they introduced it. You didn't have any doctors that knew what the hell they were talking about to be able to introduce it in a way that discouraged abuse and misuse. You know, the people that I first started with were out of the Mayo Clinic or the Cleveland Clinic. It was how they introduced it to me, telling me you cannot OD on this. Your body will only absorb a certain milligram. And then after that, anything after that, you're just wasting. It was designed that way. So nobody can ever OD on this stuff. It was a whole lot of things that they introduced. It was how they introduced it to me. So my addict brain, if it says on the bottle, take 2 every 4 hours, well, most addicts will take 4 every 2 hours. It's just the way that your brain works. Well, I knew because of the way it was introduced to me that if I took more than what I was supposed to, I'm wasting it. I'm wasting it. So I never even did it. I didn't ever do it the first time because I knew I'd be wasting it. How many people you think got told that? I doubt very many. And so it ended up being the parents. It ended up being the families. The families see such a huge change and such a big difference in their loved ones. You know, this stuff's working. This stuff's working. So the families, it was up to the families to come up with the $400 a month. And it didn't matter how they had to get it, where they had to take it from. But they'd make sure that they found their $400 to get their family member to the doctor every month because it made that big of a difference. You know, the addict's life, it's not just them, it's the whole family. It's absolutely the whole family. And then they ended up slowly taking insurance. You had Eugene Fiscal in Pikeville that got charged criminally for the clinic that he put together. There was a whole bunch of them that was doing bad stuff. There was a whole bunch of them. I mean, if your whole business is nothing but cash business and you're bringing in, I don't even know. I mean, it was a $1 billion industry. You got line hanging out the doorway from 8 o'clock in the morning till like 8 o'clock at night. And you got all these patients, and each one of them's $400. And your clinic is backed up like that every single day. How much money you think they're bringing in? And if it's all cash, you think they're reporting it all? I mean, to trust that they are, better than me. I don't trust it. I don't trust it at all. And after seeing what I've seen with the nonprofit groups, people with big reputations around here, nonprofit reputations, on board of directors. And after what I saw, but nobody do a thing. Nobody do a thing. Circle the wagons. Get rid of anybody who sees anything they shouldn't see. Or if they say anything, then they sick their lawyers on you. And there's always a lawyer on the board. There's always a lawyer on the board around here. And how do they take advantage of people? How do they manipulate? How do they get around it all? Well, because they think that they're dealing with a bunch of uneducated hillbillies that can't read or write, can't read a contract. And if they do, they don't put it together. Well, I just wasn't that stupid. And then when you try to tell them about it, circle the wagons. Lori Dean, I quit a great endocrinologist because he had me going to a different doctor every week. Felt like I was being used to milk the system. Elizabeth, you think you could bring John Hall on as guest sometime? Who's John Hall? I don't know, Jess. You'll have to let me know. We got all kinds of people, you guys. There's all kinds of people that are coming forward. I said it a long time ago. I said these people need to start coming forward. Well, before, if they did come forward, what was going to happen? What was going to happen? Nothing. Not a thing. Now we got a platform, y'all. Now we got a platform where people are listening. Sure never dreamed that this was even possible. Janet, you did a great job. Knowledge is power. When you ask questions that cause those reactions, you're asking the right questions. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. My girlfriend come over here today and helped me clean on my place a little bit. And you know, we were talking about all this stuff, and she's the one she said it, and then Mommy said it. These were all things that I was taking to the SOAR Summit back in 2018. And nobody wanted to hear nothing I had to say. Oh, except when I was presenting, when I was down there on the floor and I had all my tables set up and I had all my poster boards and everything set up with all this stuff. And they'd come around, you know, and they'd talk to you and they'd look at everything that you got and they'd ask you questions about it and stuff. And that's how I met one of the governor's people. And we stayed in touch. We emailed back and forth. And he said anything I ever had, send to him. And I did. I'd send him all kinds of stuff. But nothing ever happened. Nothing ever happened. And that's okay. You know, the Lord provides. The Lord moves us in the directions and the paths that we are supposed to go down. And I'm very glad, you know, now on this backside of it, I'm glad I never did get involved in any of that stuff. That, you know, one way to look at it is that the Lord kept me safe. He kept me safe. And he showed me through all of these experiences, he showed me, he's given me the knowledge, like you said, Miss Janet, working at that nonprofit gave me the knowledge on that grant writing, on all that grant writing. and how the financials and the fundings, cycles are. And, if you've got unrelated projects, your funding has to stay separate. I learned a ton. And so now, whenever I see these things, I can recognize it. I recognize it real quick where other people don't, just because they hadn't experienced the same things that I did. None of us are going to be knowledgeable about stuff if we ain't experienced it. I went to rehab myself. I've experienced it. So I know about the controlled environments. I know about what it's like when you come home from those environments. I just understand it, a lot of it, from all different sides. June, Lois Baker started MCHC. It was a good thing. Absolutely. I'm not saying that it's bad. No, we desperately need a clinic here. They do a lot of good. The doctors see all the people here in this community. It's a good thing. My point is the money. Now, you can do a whole lot of good things. Mickey did a whole lot of good things. He did a whole lot of good things. From what I hear, those food boxes that were delivered with Mickey and Michael, they normally, from what I was told, delivered about 40 food boxes when they would go on a delivery. It wasn't ever just 2 like it was that day. Like they would load up 40 boxes for delivery. If you understood how much money was coming to this area, though, you can't, if $50 million is coming into your area and they take 20 million of it and do all kinds of good with it, but then 30 million of it goes to line people's pockets. Well, they still did a lot of good, right? They still did a lot of good. They were still needed in the community. But does that excuse the bad stuff that they did? Because it don't. That doesn't compute in my brain, if that makes sense. And I just wonder, so you've got all these people. Ned Pillersdorf said it 40 years ago. You did not see women being arrested and being charged and going through these drug court programs. Not like it is today. Now, so you've got women who are being arrested, held in jail under somebody like an Angie and Ben Fields, which is terrifying. If they're put out on house arrest, they're still under Ben Fields and subject to his rules and regulations, consent, whatever. And then if you don't do what he says, or if you don't follow the rules, or you don't play by the rules, you go back to jail. And then you have to deal with Michael Clark to get your bed in rehab. And what was he doing to these girls? When's all that going to come out? You got Ark. Didn't let him go. They gave him a promotion. At least I heard he makes a lot better money than what he did. And it seemed like he was making pretty damn good money before. be able to buy a 3-bedroom brick home and drive around a, what is it, that 300 car? Not a Mercedes, but a Chrysler 300. Jet Electro. What happened in rural USA with the prescriptions was similar to what happened in the urban and metro areas with the big H word and the big C word. Snow cane, hard cane. Yep. Yep. And then, you know, we see all of the evidence from these stops, these traffic stops or whatever. So you've got the rugs, the money, the pews, just whatever that they, and remember, those are forfeitures. So all that stuff gets forfeited. And it's supposed to be up to a judge to say if they can use it or not. Or at least that's what I thought, because we had a big article in the newspaper a while back where they had ordered the money to be forfeited. It was $30,000 for like laptops. They gave it to the sheriff's department to pay for whatever they needed there at the sheriff's department. Where'd the rest of the money go to? Because they sure didn't turn in their reports, their annual forfeiture reports like they were supposed to. So where's that money? Where's the records for that money? June says, do you have any idea how many Suboxone offices are in our county or just in the city limits of Whitesburg? Used to be 6. Well, when my family doctor, I have one of the absolute best old school doctors, honey. She still makes house calls to her elderly patients. Best woman doctor you've ever seen. I mean, she's just a wonderful person. Judge Mullins went to her church. She said one Sunday morning, Judge Mullins got up and tried to preach. And that was the Church of Christ. Any of you all that know the difference, you'll know what I'm talking about. Those of you who don't know the difference, I'm not even going to try to explain it. Because now I don't know if that came from his wife or if he went there from his own family. I don't know if the Church of Christ was through his wife's family or through his. I don't know. But Michael said he was Mickey's and Kevin's pastor. I don't know about that, man. He seems like he was pastoring a whole lot. Lori, I believe in karma. Karma has kept me on the straight and narrow all my life because she would slap me every time I even thought about doing wrong. Well, you know, it's really, really bad. It is. So let me read what one of our hillbillies sent me. It was their own personal experience about their daddy. I told you a little bit of it. Let's see. Here it is. All right. She said, he gave my dad OCs for sciatic nerve pain. Then he turned around and prescribed methadone to get him off of it. My poor daddy had no idea what either of those rugs were. Now he's benefiting money from these rug programs. It disgusts me. These are comments from people right here in our community, y'all. How he found out was we were in somewhere with family, visiting family, and they were in the hospital. They were visiting family that was in the hospital. And her dad said he had to go back to his room and take his methadone. And their cousin, who's an RN, looked at him so strange and asked, why are you taking methadone? He said Dr. B prescribed it. He had no clue he was even taking a rug that was addictive. Money-hungry people. She says it's sad what money-hungry people have done to our families. You know, and that's just one example. It's just one. That's a real life example of the consequences, right? There's a whole lot. There's a whole lot. So tomorrow night, there is supposed to be another fiscal court meeting in Whitesburg. The company is here supposedly cleaning up ditches and culverts, has pulled a signed contract of a contractor and gave it to someone else, way less qualified, probably out in a cheap bid. But the contract had already been signed. So that was something that we heard a whole lot of in that meeting. If any of y'all didn't see it, you can go look in the playlist. I think it's the Letcher County. It's in the Letcher County playlist, and it has our fiscal court special meeting. And whenever they started asking about all that money from the flood of 22, they're using the same people, the same company that they used in 22 flood for the cleanup, that no documentation could be found. And I heard one of the magistrates at the meeting talk about how wonderful this company was and how wonderful and how much work they had done and how they had worked so hard. And they said, well, why didn't that money go to people, local people? They said, well, there wasn't nobody around here that could provide the services that they provide. Well, you couldn't have worked with any local people to make sure that they did that. You know, I mean, there are ways. There are ways to keep that money here. Like one of the things that the lady said that stuck in my mind really big was they needed to make sure they had the money for them to be paid again. So everybody's got a job. Well, what about all the people here that's lost their jobs? What about all the people here who could really use a good job? But no, these people hoard these jobs up, and then they give them all to their buddies and their sisters and their brothers. It looks to me like MCHC's all family run too. So you got the county attorney's brother there. You've got Van Breeding, you've got Matt Breeding, and then you've got the Bakers. One of them's the wife of the CEO, and then the building is the brother of the CEO. So they're keeping all this money in the family. So the company in here supposedly cleaning up ditches and culverts. Well, if any of you noticed when this flood happened this last time, all those pretty brand new culverts that they put in for the people's driveways and the creeks and all this, they all came floating right back out. I passed little creek areas and you'd see the entire culvert lifted out of the ground and pushed over somewhere. One that they had just put in. They brought all these people, all these experts, all these engineers and all this big cost and stuff. And none of it held up. This next flood came, washed it all right back out. And so many of the people here, I've heard say, I told them that wasn't going to work. I told them that wasn't going to work. See You Later says Obit said he was a member of the Hemp Hill Church of Christ. Yeah. That's where she lives. So, yeah. Was that him and his family? Or was that from her family? Because I know her family all lives up there. Or I don't know if that's her family or not. I guess it wouldn't be, would it? They're Mullinses that live up there. But that wouldn't be on his wife's side. So they might be related to him. Lady AR62, is MCHC a regional medical center? I'm not really sure what it is. Let me pull it up and we will see. MCHC. I didn't know that it was a nonprofit. So it says, y'all hit that like button for us. 25 likes to hit 350. Let's see. So MCHC about. Does it say? Doesn't really have an about page. They've had their hands in a whole lot for a long time here. Contact, Facebook transparency, Mountain Comprehensive Health Corporation. Created July 24th, 2012. Wow. Details about MCHC. Okay. Mountain Comprehensive Health Corporation, a nonprofit corporation, had its humble beginning in 1971. Located in a trailer in rural Leslie County, Kentucky. In the 50 years since, MCHC has grown into one of the largest rural health centers, not only in the state of Kentucky, but also in the United States. With over 500 employees, MCHC provides services to over 50,000 patients each year. Currently, the clinics are located in Letcher, Perry, Owsley, Harlan, Bell, Pike, and Knott counties. MCHC has a long history with its patient base. Rest assured, when you receive care at any of our facilities, you are part of the MCHC family. Our CEO, LM, Mike Cottle, says it well. Mountain Comprehensive Health Corporation is the #1 rural health program in the U.S. The strength of our program is based upon our excellent employees who relate to our patient base as a member of their family. MCHC works hard to provide the very best of care to our patients by hiring excellent providers, support staff, and providing them with the best supplies and most technologically advanced equipment available in the area. Whether you are an employee or a patient, you are a member of our family and are important to MCHC. We are your family team of healthcare professionals. Are you on the team? And then it just gives the date, the locations. So that. I saw a video one time of breeding, and he was trying to market for the clinic, I guess. I don't know. It was very odd, though. He had a patient, an addiction patient in there, and had the camera all up in their face and was talking about, and you all saw him in that video that we watched at the very beginning. I mean, he's an odd duck. He's a very odd duck. And it just seems like money rules here. If you've got enough money, people's memories fade. Like, do you think that would be a good thing to put somebody who's already been punished for inappropriate medical billing? What's that mean? That means they were billing for services either not provided. Doesn't that sound a lot like the Medicaid fraud investigation that ARC is going through right now? How many eyeballs they got on these other programs? So you've got that Tim Ison fella from the MCCC that was in the video with Mullins that day. He was in Mullins' office. So they're bringing in more facilities. So it's not just ARC with Michael. Then you had the MCCC with Ison. And from what I have heard, he's also a preacher. And Michael Clark, when he had his church up there at Kane Kitchen, he invited Ison to come and guest preach for him, which is something they like to do. They'll find him a preaching buddy. And the next thing you know, they're all hanging out as best friends, and they're going everywhere together. And this one's guest preaching at this one, and this one's guest preaching at that one. And then before you know it, they'll even change their own service time so they can go to their buddy's church and not miss a service. I mean, it's just... And so that's two. And then you also have the HEAL organization, and now the Hub, and all that is under breeding. And all of that Those are nonprofit programs. There's a whole lot of money there's a whole lot of people making a whole lot of money. But it ain't the people that are struggling. That money is not going towards to help the people. I mean, like, what are they going to do? Give them they're going to give them Narcan, going to save their life. We got all kinds of clothing donation places around here. So it's not like they even need to go to the hub for that. A lot of those services are offered in lots of different other areas. I mean, the more the better. I'm not trying to complain about all that. I'm just looking at the money. That's where a lot of this has people so confused and, so back and forth over how they feel. Good people. Good people. My neighbors are good people. Love them. They did some bad stuff, right? And I don't even think he got in trouble for it. Because his daddy was a very, very, very influential Letcher Countyan. Can't find no sentencing for those charges. Can't find no, what do you get? Probation? I don't know. Were they dismissed altogether? I don't know. Was he really the scapegoat? Was there really people over top of him at that fire department? And he was thrown to the wolves? Or was it his fault? I don't know. All of this stuff is so widespread now that it's hard to even believe anything. Innocent until proven guilty. But unfortunately, the way that it really is that you're guilty until you prove your innocence. Which it shouldn't be. But. All right, guys, I know this wasn't a great one tonight. Jessica, I just read Michael Clark closed the service. I don't know. I guess I missed what y'all was talking about. Butterfly kisses. Also, if Michael was Mullins' pastor, then why was he the only one seen running for his life when Mullins was unalived? Some pastor. Heck, he about knocked that girl down. I'll never forget that. Yeah, Chris Cahill. They needed that money for these local cash card games. Yeah, so, I've told about that one down in Whitesburg, that illegal gambling spot. And I know exactly where it's at, and I could describe it for anybody who would be interested. But the sad thing is, they all know it's there. They frequent it very often. It's their home away from home, from what I've heard. And there's one in Eola across the mountain, and then there's one right next to the rec center in Whitesburg. I have friends whose families have just been devastated. Their homes have been devastated by these gambling spots. But, people like to play cards. All them big, powerful, influential people, they all like to play poker. They like to play cards. Chrysler 300, a 215, a 2015 model. Well, good for you. Good for you. County commission got part of the house arrest money too. I don't know. I don't think so. No. I think every bit of that money, because they didn't say anything about that. All it was they paid Ben, they paid Mickey when it was Mickey. There's another piece. So when Mickey was running it, he said in his deposition, he took all cash, another cash business for you here in these mountains. He took all cash. He said they didn't even have a bank account to deposit it in. And Mickey was doing house arrest, I guess, from way back. I don't even know what the year it started was, but it was when Judge Woods was in there. And so that would have been, before 2010? Because Mullins was appointed in 2009, right? Well, if Judge Woods put him over it, so Mickey was running the house arrest program for a very long time. What was you doing with all that cash money all month? Put it in a shoebox until it was time to go meet Patty? And then what'd you do? Give her the shoebox? Did you put it in an envelope? That'd be a lot of money, wouldn't it? Would that fit in an envelope? If it was all cash money? A whole month's worth? You got all these people on it? And every single month, I guess then he would collect the money, and then go meet Patty and take it to her. Just saying. I think the Fieldses both may have been leaning toward perversion. Well, you know, we see it all over the TV nowadays that the wives a lot of times are aware and a lot of times are complicit. I don't know if she was or not, but I think if they named Mickey in that he should have known, that he did know, or that he should have known, I think the same goes for the other two. His wife, she was the one taking the money. They were taking it all into her, to the jail. Why wasn't the jail named in that lawsuit? Why wasn't she named in that lawsuit? Why wasn't the judge named in that lawsuit? It was his chambers that the stuff was taking place in. I'm no lawyer, so I don't know. I have no idea. But I just wonder why more people were not held to the standard of knowing or should have known, especially when it was reported. And the upper people did know about it. They just didn't believe it. Oh, no, you can't tell me they didn't believe it. They knew. They had to have known. Like, no way. And the fact that they still had Angie Fields working in that courthouse and working so closely with them all. She worked closer with them now than what she did in the jail. After he pled guilty, after the civil suit was filed, Mickey's going through this, depositions, everybody's, on edge, stressed out. And he's supposed to be comfortable up there sitting next to Ben's wife. Cannot tell me. It just none of it makes sense. None of it makes sense. And then we find out that the state of Kentucky is going to give $900 million, or the feds are going to give the state of Kentucky $900 million just this year. Who's getting that money? Who's getting that money? Is ARC going to get that money? Is MCHC going to get that money? Is Hill going to get that money? Who's going to get it? Because I don't know one person. I don't know one in recovery, in any form of recovery, that gets any real benefit from all this money, except we get our medicine. But that ain't the money that they're giving to the communities. See what I mean? That's a whole nother pot of money. Garth, oligarchs are not only in Russia. That's true. That's true. Seems the judge's office would have an odor with all that going on in there. You'd think. Well, I can guarantee you I'll never go to that bathroom again up there in the courthouse. A YouTube video showed Angie posting missing women on Facebook. Then they would be found deceased a short time later. Well, I'm telling you. Yes. Has anyone identified Patty yet? Absolutely, Miss Janet. She is in the depositions and stuff. Now, I didn't see a deposition for Patty. Why was she not deposed? She sued. She's named in the civil suit. Why isn't there a deposition for her? They put all these depositions out publicly. There was Mickey's deposition, Ben's, Sabrina's, but there wasn't one for Patty. Where did her deposition go? Why was she not deposed? They say she lives in a great big mansion in Greenup County. And she's had this business for years and years and years and years. Decades. An all cash business. And how many county jails in Kentucky were they using her equipment for? How much money is she making? And then you got all these salaries for our elected officials. Judge executive makes about 90 grand. Yeah, Terry Adams ain't going to want to give that up. Oh, no. 90 grand. That would have been great for Judge Wright. He could have used that as his retirement nest egg, his extra egg. But he didn't get elected. Terry got it again. 90 grand. But they don't need it. They're already wealthy. A lot of these people. So from the research that I've found, if it's not the Breedings that own all the property on one end of the county, it's the Adamses that own it all on the other end of the county. From generations, from their parents. You've got every one of them, from what I hear. All of them's got their lake houses down in Tennessee, and they've also got property down in Tennessee. A whole big bunch of it. I was thinking a camper, a campground with a little side by side or something. No, I reckon I was wrong on that. And now I don't know how big the houses are. Could just be a little old cabin somewhere on the lake. But they've all got them, and they've all had them for a long time. And they're all within proximity of each other. Yes, Jessica. Didn't Sabrina get arrested for shoplifting? Yes. So she was arrested for shoplifting. impactful. And then the old Tasha girl, who now she was just on TikTok, and she said a whole bunch of stuff that she says had happened to her. But she wasn't involved in any lawsuit, and she wasn't involved in any criminal charges or anything like that. She's just one of the people who had went through the drug court program, was an addict, and struggled through that system. She was also arrested for theft and PFO, persistent felony offender. So, and I don't necessarily think that those were retaliations against them. No. Remember, Sabrina ain't got no money yet. They've filed this civil suit, but it's on hold. Like, she ain't won a big settlement or nothing like that. She's still living her life. She's still going through. It's probably a lot harder now because everybody knows, you know? It's just hard. All right, yeah. All right, guys. Well, boy says he ran for sheriff and his house burned down in neon. Kevin Mullins put him in jail, and Mickey tried to unalive him. What? I never heard anything like that before. We'll have to look into that. Somebody just sent me a message saying that. Yeah. Or shoplifting. Possible. All right, guys. I'll do a better job tomorrow. All right. Well, y'all have a great rest of your evening. I just got so much information, and I don't really know what all I should say and what all I shouldn't say on some of this stuff. I mean, it just blows me away how many people are involved with their hands out, and they get all this money, and then, I mean, who's to ever know any different? Like, who knows any better? Who knows any different to question any of this stuff? You know? It's kind of the same way, these audits. What did they say in those audits? The state. Well, this system is so lacking that pretty much if there was any fraud, waste, or abuse going on, it can't even be identified, let alone corrected and made right. This mess is, you can't even follow it. And if something is gone, you'd never know it. And every single year that they do the audit, this is the exact same criticism that they keep telling them. There's no consequences. All they have to do is just respond and say, we're trying. We don't have enough funding. Where's all this damn money then? You ain't got no money. You can't fund these positions. Bullshit. Better take it out of somebody's pocket. Good night, y'all. Yeah, I gotta go too. I got a meeting in the morning. All right, guys. Well, you all have a great rest of your night. I will see you tomorrow. And peace out, Girl Scout. Bye, y'all.
You can't hide from hillbilly crime.
there's a crew in town. The head hillbillies are making their rounds. Small town whispers loud and clear. The sheriff shot the judge in his chambers chair.
Sheriff got a secret he won't keep. Judge shot dead in his disbelief. A lot of people have some stories to tell. Dark pass away, get the sound of a shotgun shell.
All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground, rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Neighbors hide behind their blinds, whisper tales of troubled minds. Skeletons covering the mountainside, a treacherous reality in the pines.
Winter reveals the hidden lies. Moonlight couldn't mask their cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise. All the